Alright peeps, welcome back to Split City episode 11. In the end of the last episode we got all of this high-res building done. All the Sims have moved in, they're absolutely loving these bridges and paths that we've got for them. And one thing they also absolutely love is having their wee babbies educated at this Terrace Hill City Elementary School here. So the city's decided to build them another one. Because what's better than one elementary school in the city? Bloody two of the figures. Now let me real casually reconnect the big key path around the back, and that'll do it for now. I just wanted a nice tidy little bit of pathway that we can connect through and make sure that our pedestrians can do what they need to do. Because this episode's not about Terrace Hills. This episode was showing some love to Evergreen Swamp over here. If you remember at the end of episode 1 / the beginning of episode 2, we had major floodage on the crack. We ended up building a big bomb over the side and setting up a mangrove farm over here, / forestry industry. And look, we can see our little forester here driving up. He's gonna go and chop a mangrove and make us some money. Or at least that's what old mate thinks he's gonna be doing. He's unaware of our plans for the swamp, but thanks to the boffins out at our university over here, we have got a foolproof way of sorting out this swamp once and for all. A tidy bit of land reclamation. And we're going to start this bit of land reclamation by going into medium roads, whipping out me custom wide key pedestrian street and cementing the bomb in place. Symbolically speaking, of course. I reckon the farmer might start to figure out what's going on when the bomb boulevard showed up on the edge of his plot here. And this poor family here thinks they're getting the worst of it. They're like, we'll have to downsize the house, shrink the garden a bit. Nah, you're getting off lightly. You get the tiny bit of advanced warning before MiGly comes along and says no more rezoning any of along here. We're taking a hell of a lot of zoning out now, including this front row here. Some may or may not have went overboard on the dezoning here, but it's all necessary. And one more thing that's necessary is deleting our paths down here, deleting the connecting paths along here. Because if you remember a couple episodes ago, I said I'm not pausing the game to build, and we're about to destroy a major road connection here. So we need to put a fancy dirt road in before we do that, and we're going to use the foundations of the paths to do it in. Ideally without messing up anyone's zoning, which I believe we did. So all of these peeps can just chill. All of these peeps driving up this road need to quickly chuck a yui and get back doing that dirt road. Because this whole section here is getting bloody demolished. And I mean, this whole section here is getting demolished. Parks and all. We've got the Owl Town here, and this is all part of the new development. Well, this is also part of the new development, but phase 2 of the new development. Phase 1 needs these houses gone. Because I'm going to extend our two-way, two-lane divided road with angled parking all the way down to here, and all the way up here as well. But before we go placing any roads, we need to do some vital landscaping. If we look at our water here, we're down at 119, 120 metres. We know from previous experience that it floods all the way up to 126 metres, which is why our bomb connects into 126 metres here. Everything in here floods like nobody's business. But I don't see the fun in just raising the level here. Let's select 122 metres, read off the brim here, and level this all out. And as for the top here, we can only go so far because of our motorway tunnels. But if you have a look, this little slip road here goes underneath that tunnel, but then it comes up and connects onto that tunnel, so we can cut over the top of this slip road, but we cannot cut over the top of the motorway. It's only 15 metres under the deck there, we didn't want to expose it. So let's cut our way up here, trying to leave the existing bomb, and ideally not expose any of the motorway. And I reckon we're done our route there. No exposed motorway. Our next bit of infrastructure upgrade is finally upgrading this one little bit of rail here from key to elevated. And that somehow pished off a bit of zoning here, which is alright. Because in the last episode, we levelled our city up and got some high density businesses on the crack. And I want to line the railway here with high density businesses. Use them as a sound barrier for the residents, you know. But before I change this over, I'm going to have to whap a path down real quick. And this is just a temporary pathway. We'll be replacing it with something a little bit fancier later on doing the line. But the main reason I want to do this is it's going to end up rejigging some zoning. And I want to restrict exactly what type of zoning happens over here. Especially considering not all of this is going to have to be high density. So now we've got our zone blocker on there. Let's zone this all high density here. Or at least up until the college. We'll leave a little bit of variety down near the college and the uni. They didn't mind the noise anyway. But with our land levelled, it's time to make a full road system here for our reclaimed swamp. You've got to be very careful when you're reclaiming this swamp. You reclaim too much land and you end up flooding. You didn't reclaim enough land and you're sitting there with a bit of soggy swampy dirt that everybody's kicking off about because of all the mozzies. And now we've got our main ring road up and running. It actually doesn't look half bad, does it? It all connected up, looking tidily enough. I need to do a little bit of finagling over here, but that's easily enough done. And there we go, we'll look a lot better there now. And if we want to get rid of the trees, we'll just upgrade this to nothing at all. I do like our temporary road though. It's doing the trick. It's letting people get back to their homes, you know. It's letting those emergency services vehicles get out of the Langdon Lane Bridge and into Evergreen Swamp. Well, now that we've got our main ring road on the crack, why don't we quickly go ahead, do a little bit of a side street. I'm stepping down to a 2-lane angled parking road. And I want to come off here where 180 degrees looks canny, and that looks canny. Schneck it up a wee bit, and then bring it around. A casual 90-90 180, I like that. And then I want to do a wee stub, because at the end of that stub, we're going to put a big old cul-de-sac. Maybe even a very big old cul-de-sac. We'll have to wait and see. But that little angle there came out looking canny. I'm happy with that. Now before we get too far ahead of ourselves, I need to go through every single node around here and level it all out to be the same as this node here. 122 meters essentially. Just to make sure we've got a perfectly flat bit of swamp. And you can see all the roads that have just been shifted down there. We do look to have a little bit of weirdness going on, but it might just be the fact that this is high sky in the air. Yeah, that looks a lot nicer now, and then we have a little ramp at the end. You've got to honour the berm somehow, you know? Well, with that all new flat and levelled, why didn't we get about manually placing loads and loads of houses? After much move it mod action, we've got a very tidy little boulevard's worth of houses there. Look at that! It snakes right through between the little ring road here. Only thing we need to do is actually connect them to a road. Now I'm going to attempt to follow this bomb exactly all the way through. So we're going to be using complex curves. Now let's see how big we need to make this whole parallel situation. Is 6 meters enough? Oh no, is it? 8 meters? 8 meters looks like it might be the right amount, but it's difficult to sort of see because there's no flat edges along here. 8 meters is a bit too big, but 7 meters is going to be too small, isn't it? Alright, 8 meters with a bit of shifted action I'll have to do. So let's try our best to make this as even as possible. I'm going to come out. I think about here is parallel. And then can we come around? We'll line up with where we stopped when we were doing the berm road. Then we'll continue around. Stop at the same place again. And then back around. Stop at the same place. And then follow through right to the end. But I am going to pause it for this bit. Just so we don't end up utterly destroying the old French estate here. Because we don't actually want this bit of road, so you can all have your zoning back. And I've tried my best to save the rest of yous. Yous are just going to have to deal with being dezoned. Oh, like I'm going to have to deal with redoing this bit of road here. Oh, what happened here? What's this nonsense? I think this bit of road needs to disappear. And I think that was the connecting piece, like. So we need to redo this bit of road. And look at that little nub there. Look at the nub! Hey, let's get rid of that nub by replacing the bit of road in. That looks like it looks alright. I got double nubs! Hey, well I'll take the double nubs, like the double nubs look bloody mint. Let's pop our little stub back out here. And look, the forester still hasn't got a clue what's going on. He's like, oh, thanks Mia for laying this road. It makes it much easier for us to get down to these mangroves here. Little does he know, his whole empire's about to go poof. Not yet though, we've still got some finagling to do with these roads. They weren't quite perfect. Nigh on perfect though, look at that. I'm quite bloody happy with that. But let's turn that quite bloody happy into a very bloody happy. Well, after a little bit of move at finagling, we've actually got it in. Look at our fully functioning beautiful roads there. Directly on the pig. That looks so good. I had this envisioned in my mind for so long and it looks even better than I hoped. Let's get proper doon on street level here. And you're just walking down the big bomb boulevard. You've got all these fancy houses of different colours either side of you. Trees in the middle, well lit. I love it. Let's just say we are far from done with this. We've got a few more roads we need to pop on. Let's quickly do the top ones here. Last but not least, We get the asymmetric laddie on there. What do you reckon of me little swamp road layout? I love me cosy little triangle here. And I'm not entirely sure if it's a perfect swollen triangle or not. But I'm pretty confident we are going to destroy it at some point. But before we do that, why don't we step back to the original bit of evergreen swamp here and redo these roads. And how do you like me little horseshoe there? That's all we're going to do down here. Just a tidy little horseshoe. And I think it might be time to get these dirt roads up and pop a new permanent connection in. So the old road used to connect straight through onto Florence Street here. Just a tidy little number. And we could look at replacing that. It would just be a tidy little Y intersection. However, the council has different plans. They didn't like this park. Homeless people keep hanging out in it. But they do like this bit of street. They want to upgrade it to have paths and everything on it. Nah, they're only doing that because this is going to be where they bring the road in. And yous have lost your zoning, have yous? Well, in that case, I think we might have to do some road bulldozing up in here. Ah, yous didn't think this was safe forever, did you? Just for a little while. And I've always wanted to get rid of Primrose Lane because it gets a bit sketchy up in here, like. So ye laddies are going to lose your road as well. Now, before we crack on too much further, I want to pop a striped roundabout on here. And we're done with all these round... And oh, ye cheeky zoning beggars, nae zoning for yees. Once you're gone, you're gone. And as I was saying before I was rudely interrupted by those bloody zoners, we can come off this roundabout here, pop a tidy curve off there, set ourselves up for a mad curve round the corner here, ready for a straight run down the bottom. And would you look at that? Some individual managed to keep their property there. House is even zoned. It's not even zoned on this side, it's zoned on that side. I love it. Let's quickly sort this zoning out here. Now, it might incur some loss of zoning, but not a lot of it. Any French mixed residential units that are 3 long can remain. Any ones that are longer need to get gone. And look, Old Mate does fall directly in the zoning there, so I think I might have to let him be. Look at that little leg end there hanging out. Survived everything in his level 4 house. Imagine that was your house and you've just seen your whole neighbourhood be devastated and literally flattened. And you're the one sole survivor. Now, unfortunately for you, mate, after a little bit of checking, the road was too far out. Maybe I can rebuild it? Oh, no. No, maybe I can't rebuild it quick enough to where you come back. Bloody straight off he was. And there we have it. That's our road network for our reclaimed swamp. Now, this little estate here is going to keep its heritage. It's going to be French and UK mixed. And we're going to kick it off with the UK Executive Mansion here. Right on the end of the cul-de-sac. From the UK Executive Mansion to the fancy detached houses. That's what we're going to be plopping down all the way around here. I reckon I'm relatively happy with that, like. Especially since the fact that the UK mixed housing is on bulk now. You can actually use it. At least I'm pretty sure you can. I just spied a tidy little spot here. Can we pop an urban parquet? We can. Oh, we can't because it's supposed to be there. Oh, but if we position it just right, we can. Get in there. That's not taking out any zoning, and that should allow pedestrians to connect through from this bit of path to here. While we're on the subject of parks, there is one more spot I want to pop a park, and that's right here in this little bit here. Just park it up a bit for the fancy residents because, well, this is where the fancy residents are. Our here's where the cheapo houses are. Surprisingly enough, on the same street as the mansion, but hey, that's just the way things work out sometimes, innit? But I'm quite liking this little revamped UK section. This used to be the Japanese section, however, I'm thinking about making it American section. And it sort of makes sense because we got the North American houses doing on the old Burn Boulevard there. So why didn't we pop our zone blockers on here? Now, I'm actually going to upgrade this road to be a key because I didn't want zoning on the main road anyway. And that's because I fancy stepping it up here with the zoning. So why didn't we zone in some northeast mixed residential commercial units in here? So why didn't we fill this outer ring with some high northeast buildings? And look at our fancy little northeast district here. Coming along, canny. Tell you what, I do love me little residential arch here, like. It's lush. Little semicircle full of flats. These ones come out canny, like. I'm half tempted to do the whole ring in these. But now I think it's finally time to whip in the compulsory purchase order for this farm. say get out of here, because we've got some zoning to be doing. Of course, we're going to be going high density all the way along the tracks here. And like I was saying, I don't want any zoning on the outside here, so let me just key it up, get rid of all the zoning. Now, to signify this being the Asian area, we're popping doing our little Dragon Gate low density businesses. Which is Chinese, but we're doing a little bit of a mix here, you know. From Burn Boulevard here, we're going to be stretching out USA Southwest along Birdsong Street here. And then I fancy doing a mad Japanese section on Thornton Street. And then we'll do a Chinese section on Green Street here. Got a bit too fancy, crashed the game, but when I come back, there's gonna be a bloody Merkin Street. And we're back at it. I've popped some buildings down. Let's have a little feel through these, laddies, and unveil our new Swamp Estate. We've got some fancy US Southwest residentials. We've got some even fancier little Japanese residentials. And I changed the roads around a wee bit because I was running out of space, but we've still got our little triangle about there. Now, one of the other things I've done is I went and placed me big key paths around all of these buildings that we've plopped in, / have been zoned in. And for as long as you've seen these key paths in my inventory, that's how long I've been planning this whole bloody thing for. And when I rejigged the roads, I decided I was going to put my Dragon's Gate low commercial along here. Because there's no bloody residents to get annoyed by the noise of the train track there. We're all G. And now one bit I haven't done yet is the old Chinese block hour here. I figured I'd do that with yous. So I use this filter here to set me lot width and depth, as well as what pack it's from and everything like that. And then I'll plop the buildings down, have a look, see what I like about all these level 1s. And the Chinese pack's got a bloody lot of them, I tell you that for now. Honestly, I quite like all of these here, but I reckon I'm going to go for these back two here. I like the sort of built up bricks on these ones, and I like the good old fashioned courtyards on these ones. So for this little area here, I found myself a big old 4x4 courtyard house, which we're going to plonk right in the middle. And that's going to be the big gaffer's house. Now, for some reason, I really like the idea of there being a couple of high-rises right outside the gaffer's courtyard house there. Why are you a couple of flankers? And for the rest of this, we're just plonking houses down. Simple as. Now, for this row, I reckon we can go a bit deeper here. Maybe going for skinny houses. Maybe we say this is the new gaffer's house, the wide one. And then the rest of these are just regular old houses. And now we've got the side of the street done, I usually go straight into paths, get me key path out, and then I look for a few key buildings. We'll say this one here. Find the little X marks the spots for the edge of the plot there. And then when we're at the end like this, I just come down to a point where I don't connect into the roundabout because you see it shifts it. But one back, and then straight away before I forget about it, I like to go in and bring this little node all the way up here. And you can see I've got a little line there. If I page down and bring the level down, it disappears under the actual roundabout. And then the rest of these I just simply connect up like this. Let me do the rest of this bit in a casual speedy up bit, and then I'll catch back with you to smooth it all out. So now that we've got this absolute mess of a path here, we need to go into Move It mod, find any little dodgy corners, like say over here, grab the actual length, not the node, and just smooth it out. So this is one of the many examples of how I sort of do this on the fly. That looks horrendous. Let's try the method where we do a nice continuous curves. I think that looks a lot better now. A lot better than what I was trying to do anyway. Anyway, before we forget, let's chuck this under the road here. And then I reckon we're going to have to get complex with this bit, like. Gone from here, down and around, a little something like that. And that's a tidy little bit of key, that, isn't it? Or at least it is in my opinion. Let's see if we can save these without having to redraw them, if not else. Well, after far too much faffing, this is about the best I can get it. Let's quickly schneck it on up here. A little bit of out here, a little bit of down there, a little bit of connect it up. Now for this side, I'm planning on connecting into the roundabout on both of these independently, but deed close to each other like. Well, maybe we're not deed close, but that does give me the opportunity to fit in a tidy little pedestrian bridge here. A wee covered bridge. I love it. Can I stretch this in as well with the nodes? And especially if I give it a little bit of an arch on the gun. I absolutely love that little bridge there. There's gonna be heaps of those, I can bloody guarantee you that, like. Especially when they're looking like that. But I've got a fair amount of these paths to be cracking along with. Some of them easier than others. For example, this one should be a no bother whatsoever. Just a little bit of one of these. And now we've got that nice and tidy. But this laddie here, I have a feeling is going to need a little bit more work. I will say I'm pretty happy with that, like. Now these little corner pieces, they are supposed to be a little edgy, as well as this very acute little angle here. But that's alright. Knew I just got to real casually do this bit. All real casual like. That wasn't too bad that. I didn't have to delete a single thing and it looks alright. Knew I just need to hope I can do the same over here. And I did manage to do it without having to delete it. Nice tidy little bit of pathways going on. And I do believe that's tidy little bit of pathways everywhere. Well, depending on how you count everywhere, of course. And to celebrate all the paths being done on this bit of the estate so far, I made myself a custom little road. Can you tell what makes it custom here? Anybody that drives in the UK is probably like, my brain hurty, but I can't quite figure out why, until it clicks. Since this is a bridge, we may as well go and upgrade it to be an actual bridge. Upgrade the outside of all of these paths that we've got plopped to be tidy little keys. And it's a lot easier to upgrade them to be keys than it is to make them nice and smooth and that. And I'm just checking all of these. I actually done the upgrade on the correct side the whole way. I didn't have to redo any of them. This one was fun though, because it's one big path gone to run. The pedestrians are using already, look at them gone. And that's because the way we're going to reclaim this swamp, all safe like, is by ensuring the water has somewhere to go. And while I was digging that door out, I realised I completely forgot to bloody sort this bit out here. The out connection that used to be the main road that no longer exists, that's going to be a tidy little asphalt cul-de-sac. Now we have got a nice tidy little spot to connect into with me key path. And here we are folks, the moment we've all been waiting for. We're gonna flood the swamp intentionally to avoid it flooding the entire swamp and flowing it all the way down to the grafters split. And the way we're gonna do that is by upgrading the Bomb Boulevard to an elevated bit of roadway all the way through. What that lets me do is grab this 115 metres here and carve a fancy little culvert all the way where the berm used to be. Now since we've got a nice bit of wall there that the water's flowing through, why don't we upgrade this to be a bridge as well? And then we get a tidy view. I don't think I can actually go all the way in here. I think the land will end up reappearing, but we'll try. Oh, look at our little culvert. Let's get in, see how far we can see. And this is why we've got waterfront housing on the side of the Berm Boulevard here. Because it's actually a bloody culvert. Look at the water coming through. Let's race ahead of the water a bit here. We'll see it come out. Or we'll see it hit the wall. Because we need to go ahead and upgrade some more bits to be bridges. But for now, why don't we just enjoy the torrent coming towards our faces. Oh, we're about to get spalooshed. Alright, enough of that. We need to see where we need to get some bridges on the crack. Try, keyword being try, and avoid some flooding. And you know what? To celebrate this momentous occasion, we're going to be a debt-free city. From 7.6% interest rate to 0. Evergreen Swamp is a debt-free swamp. And look at the water, it's propagating, it's gone and run. Right, we need to sort this out now. Just to avoid any zone shenanigans, I'm going to pause the game while I do this. I'm going to pop a dirt road on here where the paths connect through. And then we can upgrade just the middle bit to be a bridge. Delete these two connecting pieces. And look at that. We've got a fancy little bridge for the water to go through and start flooding this section of Evergreen Swamp. I absolutely love that. Now the next bit of bridge we want to get on the crack is down here. I want to make a tiny little bridge there. I would like to follow this path through, but it actually connects straight onto the edge and wouldn't do a single thing. So I'm going to connect one road onto here, another road onto here, and a third road connecting out here. And that's so I can upgrade this bit of Beach Street, this bit of Hemlock Street, and when I actually connect Willow Lane there into the road, I can upgrade this bit of Hemlock Street to be a bridge as well. So we've got 3 little bits of bridge there, aka a bridge intersection. And with that there should be our whole swamp able to get flooded. You know, flooded up to maybe 120 metres, 121 metres, but never flooding to 122 metres. And I have these little flood ramps on the side here, nice smooth bits of ramping, just so we can get a proper gauge of what the water level's like. And what's this? I thought I flattened this bit of ground. Oh, seems like you've got some water pipes that need to be removed and replaced 50 metres under the deck. And on that feat of absolute engineering, reclaiming the mangrove swamp, the area that's been flooding since episode 1. I do love the fact that it hasn't flooded once this entire episode, when the whole episode's been about avoiding flooding an evergreen swamp. But regardless of all that, why didn't we enjoy a tidy little canal/swamp filling speedy up bit? It's all measured out the what I should get to everywhere I want it to get to, and hopefully nowhere else. And as you can probably tell, we're nowhere near done yet in Evergreen Swamp. We are just getting started. There's a few things I'll say about Evergreen Swamp to be keen for. The islands that are created, they've got real firm, stable ground underneath them. And the Frenchies that we've got living down here have been kicking off for episodes about the state of their little district. And you know what? I agree with them. We're gonna have to sort out the Frenchies district. And while we're sorting the Frenchies district out, we're gonna be bridging and pathing all these little estates up here, finishing up plopping some of the buildings down. I have some ideas for little commercial zones, an idea for a little education area, a couple of parks, because if you're living in a reclaimed swamp and you've got all this water around, you've got to have some sort of park action. And as well, you can see that lonely bit of skywalk hanging out at the top left. That's gonna get connected in. But I am buzzing with the progress we've made this episode. We have laid the foundations for Evergreen Swamp. Now all we need to come do is make it come alive. And I've been working on some mad little tricks to get key balls exactly where I want them and whatnot. Just seeing this reclaimed swamp here fills me with such joy. Like, it's been months in the making. I've been thinking and planning this out, and I'm absolutely buzzing that we get to properly delve into it now. But anywho, enough of my yapping. I'm basically just repeating myself at this point anyway. I do hope you've enjoyed this Evergreen Swamp reclamation episode, and I'll see you next week for bringing Evergreen Swamp alive. I'm keen!